agents mad cause I'm flagrant, tap myself, and the phone in the basement. My team supreme, stay clean, triple beam, miracle dream, I be that, catch a seat at all events bent.
August here. What up? And as you well know, it is that time again. 5 years ago, I hiked the Appalachian Mountains from Georgia to Maine, and I managed to document that whole journey and then post those videos on YouTube. That was the year 2015, and I was 45 years old. And it wasn't until about a year later, in 2016, when I decided that I would go back in 2020 and hike it again in commemoration of turning 50, from the standpoint of celebrating my bicentennial. And honestly, this is nothing new. I always gravitate into hiking the trail at some point or another. And again, honestly, it's inevitable, because it seems to me that that is the best approach to escape the hypnosis of the culture. To say that after competing in the rat race for after 5 years, you just reach a tipping point where you have to go back to refresh the scales, wipe the hard drive, start from the beginning. See, nature is a language, our first language actually. And it's not one of words. It's one of sounds, backed up with a landscape of emotions. And the best part about it is, the only thing you're going to find on the trail is yourself, okay? You'll find your voice, your center, your frequency. And at some point, you gain your identity back, And if you're lucky, you will capture that essence of yourself fast enough where you can celebrate the rest of the journey, okay? Being able to hear, see, smell, and experience a level of existence that it just can't be captured on any other realm. 2,000 miles is a long way, and 5 months on the trail is a very long time. But that is the average time that's going to take to reach your destination if you seek to hike from Georgia to Maine. But make no mistake, when you're through hiking the trail continuously from Georgia to Maine, day in and day out, Maine is not so much the destination as it is the terminus point, okay? The point where the trail ends. And you can either go home or turn around and go back again. But I'm saying that to say this. When you're through hiking the Appalachian Trail, the experience is like a marriage. To say that the journey is the destination, okay? Think about it. When you get married, you're not doing so you can die together, meaning till death do you part. No. You see, the whole point of marriage is the journey, okay? To have someone to share each moment with as you journey through life. And that's the same principle or state of mind in which one goes to the trail with. To say that the journey itself is to be present in the moment as it moves, as you hike, to absorb it all in its freshness, in its truth, And frankly, I'm excited to get back to that. So, one sunrise at a time. That's how we're going to do it in 2020 upon my return to the Appalachian Trail as I venture to hike over 2,000 miles from Georgia to Maine. And of course, it is my plan to document the whole journey as I've done in the past, but this time with emphasis on the details, okay? So I invite you, come one, come all. You're all welcome to join me. Out here.
What's up?
August here. I just wanted to show you something or bring something to your attention, nothing that you don't already know. And yeah, this is trail related from a commentary standpoint. This is an example of what you would call a trail journal. Now, I've mentioned this quite often in like 2012, but as you would note or took note of in 2015, I didn't really engage in the whole, journal taking. What's the point? The journal was like the Facebook or Messenger, or it's the internet of the trail. And pretty much if you're, like you get into a shelter, which is where most of the journals are actually kept. And but they're also kept in choke points, checkpoint areas, things where where you go get your packages. And some of the businesses often they will join in to the whole practice of keeping journals. And the whole point of a journal is to stay in contact with people, just get a gauge of where they at, who's come through, who got off the trail, who's on the trail. And it's a very effective way to actually leave notes and messages behind for people, and especially if you're looking for someone. One thing I noticed in the early 2000s is that people are now, what they're referring to is, instead of like carrying pens, because that's one thing I didn't mention, pretty much journal's only good if there's a pen there, or a pencil there. And sometimes the pencils are broke, or the pens, they run out of ink. Sometimes people take the pens. I mean, I don't think it's pretty much, I don't think it's something that they do on purpose. They're not cognizant of it, or pens fall between the shelters. But at any rate, what I've seen people do is they carry stamps. They'll get a custom stamp made. And I always said to myself, I'm going to make a mental note, because that's awesome. So what I'm going to do is actually bring a stamp of my own. And so this is just me telling you that when you see a stamp that looks like a Celtic knot, which now I'll get into that just a little bit, a little bit later. Basically, it's similar to this right here, and I'll give you a better representation on the internet. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna go to the practice of stamps, because it's easy. You're in, you're out. You make an impression, and you go about your day, and anyone that's looking for you can see that stamp, and they'll know, oh, okay, August passed through here. I'm gonna have to get some new ink. But anyway, I was testing the stamp out, and you know what? I like it. And besides that, I actually picked the Celtic knot for spiritual reasons and also practical purposes. And I'll get into that as well. It's no big deal, but it does bear explanation since it's such a unique symbol, close to my heart, so to speak. So anyway, just look at this as me telling you about journals, and how, if that's something that you're into, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get you can buy a stamp at let's see, Office Max, Office Depot, and any kind of office place. You can get stamps that already exist. I didn't have this personally made. I didn't, the Celtic knot has been around since the beginning of time almost, and that's actually part of the meaning in and of itself. Like I said, I'll get into that in a second. I just don't want to go talking verbatim. I want to get some facts behind it. But at any rate, that's something to think about. It's quick, it's easy, you don't have to sign anything, and once people know, oh, that's such and such symbol, such and such is on the trail, it's perfect. And also, I just wanted to bring your attention about the journal as well. There is a means, because let's face it, you're not going to have constant cell phone signal from Georgia to Maine, but in the interim, in the in-betweens, when you're deep in the woods going from shelter to shelter, there will be journals there. And if you're not one to carry a pen, or you don't want to be like, thinking that or hoping there's a pen there, if you really got something to say, hey, just carry a stamp. Now, does this mean you're not going to need a pen? No, because obviously I can't write with this, but at least that's just something to say, bam, I was here, so to speak. All right, I just want to mention that, and stay tuned for more commentary on the Celtic symbol in general out here. In taking a closer look at the Celtic knot as a symbol, it is also referred to as the mystic knot or endless knot. These knots are complete loops that have no start or finish, and can be said to represent eternity, whether this means loyalty, faith, friendship, or love. Only one thread is used in each design, which symbolizes how life and eternity
are interconnected. And although there are many ways in which to draw or depict the Celtic knot, the overall meaning remains the same. The more esoteric or spiritual meaning of this knot alludes to beginnings and endings, where we are therefore reminded of the timeless nature of our spirit. This translation harkens to our most primal selves as we contemplate the infinite cycles of birth and rebirth in both physical and eternal realm. Honestly, this symbol, the Celtic knot, has my name written all over it. It just speaks to me. And that's why I chose this symbol to be my personal mark as I go up and down the trail. I don't know, I guess I can just relate to the fact that it talks about the physical and the non-physical, the endings and beginnings, and it just seems so synonymous with with the way I think, the way I live my life, and the fact that this will probably be my last time hiking the trail, so it just seems like a fitting end as well. So if you ask me, I'd say I just seem to have a kinship with this mark. So when you see the Celtic mark, you think of August out here. There is one more thing that I wanted to mention. This is something different on a hygienial aspect of the trail. Back in 2015, I met up and was hiking with a guy called Rhino. Pretty much, he was a German dude. I said 2015. Oh, this is 2005. He was a German guy, and he was old school to say that pretty much. He just I don't know. He reminds me of Grizzly Adams. And I guess you just got to look that dude up. But at the end of the day, the whole point of this post, his commentary, is the fact that he didn't carry toilet paper. What he did was he when he had to do his business, or before he was doing his business, as he was walking the trail, if he saw an interesting leaf or something, he would just study the patterns. He would just pick the leaves up. Keeping in mind the forethought, this will be a good, I can wipe myself with this and I can wipe myself with that. And he'd just go on. And so when he had to do his business in the woods, he would just go through and pick up his leaves. I want to say this, and we'll call this a two-prong attack. Number one, first of all, I recommend you use toilet paper, but there may be an instance where you don't have toilet paper or you run out of toilet paper. The purpose of this post is to say two things. Number one, I don't recommend you grabbing just random vegetation and wiping yourself with it for any number of reasons. But you're number one, you're taken away from nature, and number two is you don't know what's on the back side or front side of that. You don't know what you're exposing yourself to. So unless you are a purist or a naturalist and you know exactly what this is and what species that is, I wouldn't recommend it. And number two, it's really not that necessary. Now, what I mean by this is there is no time when you're through hiking the Appalachian Trail that you will not pass a water source, period. Now, is that water source potable? Which means, can you drink from that water source? Probably not, but the water source will not be so contaminated as to the fact that you can't wash something. What do you mean? Well, number one, in hiking the trail, I recommend you always carry sanitizer and you always carry soap. And this is for your protection as far as sanitaries as well as anyone else. But and I did do this. What I would say is, just get a cloth. Get a cloth or a napkin. Think about it back in the day when before Pampers and Huggies were invented. What did they do? Well, when they had to change a baby, they would put a baby in regular cloth. When the baby did his business, they would wash the cloth, dry it, and put it back on the baby. So what I'm saying to you is, if you run out of toilet paper, instead of resorting to nature, just get a cloth or something clean, take care of your business, wipe yourself, and when you get to the first water source, wash the cloth out. Like I said, you're gonna hit towns anywhere from 2 to 3 days, so it's not that serious, and it's just you, and you have a degree of privacy such that you don't got to share this information with anyone, but at the same time, you're not exposing yourself to whatsoever organisms out there when you're trying to wipe yourself. So I just want you to know you have that option. And a matter of fact, if you just want to save money, you don't even have to carry toilet paper at all. Like I said, the water sources are there. You get a pretty big enough cloth, and you just handle your business. You wash the cloth every time you get to a water source. You let it dry on your pack, and when you got to use it, you use it, and so forth. as far as the women go, you can use that for sanitary napkins as well. I mean, you can make a cloth to, you know, as far as a pad goes, and you can wash it out. But you know, I you know, this isn't the 70s where the stores and whatnot, the resources are so far and so far in between. But I'm just saying, you know, you have to, not to say that you have to think ahead, but when you know what's out there and you can prepare for it in various ways, hopefully this post helps in that way. Just know that there is always a water source there, and sometimes you're going to cross parks and everything else, and it's just a matter of you washing out your cloth and moving on. So there are a lot of educational principles and tools that we can use. Even in this innovative age of ours, sometimes you can just keep it simple. You know, you don't have to overthink it. So I wanted to bring that up as well out here. Check this out. I want you to take a look around and tell me what you see. What you're looking at is pretty much 98% of what I look at when I'm through hiking the trail itself. But what do you see? We'll call that a rhetorical question as I give my answer. I see what a goat would see. I see what sheep would see, or a cow. And basically what I'm getting at is what I see is food. Now, I didn't see this before, but it's funny. As I said, I don't know if I said this before or not, but after going home and looking through my videos, it took me 5 years to watch those videos 1 through 105. I think I did it 1.5 times. Now, when I'm talking about the videos that I'm referring to are the through hike videos that I posted in 2015 when I hiked from Georgia to Maine. And even in the wintertime, I saw the same thing. Now, food, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about in short is grass. That's right, grass. Hold that thought. Walking through a generic grocery store, and I want you to tell me what you see. That's right, this is grass. Same thing that I showed you in the park. Except here, I mean, yeah, it's wheat grass is what they call it, but it's still grass. Hold that thought. Like a good investigative reporter, I was gonna take you around the pretty much the whole city and show you the different eateries from, for example, Panera Bread and Jamba Juice, and then I was going to take you to Whole Foods. And basically what I wanted you to see were all these different platforms where they pretty much are serving grass and the public is just eating it up, buying it. Actually, when I went inside Whole Foods, they had a juicing lane about the size of an owl with like 6 different workers, okay? And the primary substance, the green juice that they were juicing was pretty much grass. So anyway, every time I go away from the trail, if I know I'm coming back, in the back of my mind, I try to piece together things that I could do better. How can I do, you know, like just what's there that I'm not seeing? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like CSI, or like I said, an investigative reporter. And like I say, you know, I go through and I see my videos and I'm trying to find my blind spots. And all of a sudden it hit me. And the only reason why it hit me is because I was walking my cat the other day and my cat was in the backyard eating grass, you know? And then I had a moment of clarity. Now I'm 50 years old, or at least I'm gonna be. So I thought all the way back from the time that I was knee-high to a grasshopper, you know, playing with dogs, walking with dogs, seeing animals in their natural habitats, and across the board, from dogs, cats, rodents, grasshoppers, whatever, everybody's eating grass. And so I said to myself, all right, let me investigate. So anyway, I went to YouTube first. I saw 2 videos where it talked about people eating grass as a natural food source, you know, and in both cases they were seen as crazy. All right. So basically I went in the backyard, I saw what my cat was eating, I took a piece of it and I started chewing it, right? And this was March 1st. An hour later, I'm still chewing and the grass is still green. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, the taste was familiar in the same way that you would say water is familiar. Does water have a taste? I don't think so. Does grass have a taste? The same thing. You can relate to it, it's familiar, but you can't put your finger on it. Anyway, long story short, hold on. Anyway, long story short, March 1st, 2019, I started eating grass. What's the date today? The date today is September 30th, 2019. And check this out. And when I say eating grass, I'm not talking about as a staple item. I mean, I'm not a refugee. I'm not starving. I got money. I can go to the store, obviously. But well, I'm thinking in terms of like you would develop an immunity to something, how you just take a little bit of it, you know what I mean? Because I don't know what it's going to do to my system. I mean, I know it's edible, I know that much, but I'm trying to just get my system immune to it, as if I'm taking another trip through the trail and I'm picking up pieces of a tree and I'm ingesting it so I can get the antibodies from the ground so that my body can develop an immune system and you know, against the water and, you know, bacteria found in the water. I feel like I'm starting to babble, but let me just say this. I've been eating grass since March 1st, just a little bit here and there. And by April 17th, okay, about a month and a half later, I stopped eating meat. And it's not a choice as so much as a compulsion. What's the difference? A choice is when you like something. Hey, I like those shoes. A compulsion is love. Why do you love it? Can't explain it. I just feel I'm pulled to it. So that's the same thing. So it wasn't like a physical choice. Hey, I'm not going to eat meat because I'm just like, you know what? I'm not feeling a burger. I'm going to do this. So so that's just then, April 17th. Now here we are, September something, and now, like, I'm not going to use labels. Am I a vegetarian? No, but only because I don't know what a vegetarian is. You see what I'm saying? Am I a vegan? I don't know, but I will tell you this: since April 17th, I haven't eaten anything with a heartbeat. Okay, so that's fish, fowl, chicken, whatever. If it had a heartbeat, I don't eat it. And another thing is I'm actually starting to crave not just like non-cooked food. For example, I don't cook the grass. I take the grass, I eat it, I chew it, I'm done. But in eating grass, what I've found is that it awakens certain parts of my sensory, and it just may just specifically pertain to taste. But after eating grass, before eating grass, I was not one to just go to a store and just buy carrots or eat apples or eat fresh fruits and vegetables. It just seemed insubstantial to me. All right, it seemed poor. All right, but now that's all I see, and it tastes so much better. Like right now, a carrot tastes like a Whopper. You see what I'm saying? So, and I've often studied where food is a program. Okay, the same way you can put in computer codes and tell a computer to run a certain way. Well, you are what you eat. The food that you ingest into your system feeds your cells and reprograms your cells, and it goes back up to reprogram you and the way you see things, the way you feel about things, all the way down to your cravings. All right, so I pretty much haven't eaten meat since April 17th. I have no desire to do so. And it's not like I'm eating a lot of grass. You know, it doesn't take much. I'm going to go in and try to explain a little bit better for you. But if you ask me, what does grass taste like? Now, it tastes like prime rib. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you get grass and you pair it with a grape and a little bit of carrot and you chew that together, and as it emulsifies in your mouth, you get notes the same way you get notes when you're drinking wine of oak and coffee and, you know what I'm saying, burnt and timber and whatnot. Mesquite is the same way grass if I pair it with certain vegetables. You know, any vegetable. You can do it with cucumbers, carrots, onions, cilantro. Really doesn't matter. So it's the weirdest thing. I can be driving down the street and I look over in somebody's yard and they have a lush green grass, and I get the same. It's like food porn, right? You feel the same way as if you're driving by McDonald's and you know, like you smell something, or you're going by a pizza shop. The weirdest thing. But I'm sharing this video with you because I want you to understand that grass is literally a food source, and I've been eating it for months now, so I can really stake my claim on it. So much so that when I'm going down the trail in 2020, if I get hungry, if I see some grass, I'm just gonna look over and just put it right in my mouth as if I were a cow. All right, and I'm gonna tell you something else. I've often used to fast just on GP, eat every other day or something like that. And okay, for example, right now I weigh like 180. Okay, on a regular day and a regular time when I was eating food, I would eat a meal, and whatever that meal is, chicken, whatever, I would eat dinner, wake up the next morning, step on the scale, let's say my weight will be like 184. For that following day, I'll just not eat anything. I'll just fast. You know, I'll drink water and so forth. Wake up the next morning, my weight will be down to 179. Now, let's say I have a day where I'm eating grass. Well, and it's funny because grass suppresses your appetite. Reason being, you have to chew on it for so long, it literally doesn't disintegrate. It's like gum. It does not, except where gum doesn't dissolve, same thing. The grass does not dissolve. It will change colors. But I'm getting off point. I can sit there and chew on, let's say, 4 ounces of grass, less than 4 ounces of grass, and that's all I will consume, right? I wake up the next morning, and let's say my weight was 180 before I started chewing grass. When I wake up the next morning, I weigh 183, and I'm scratching my head. I did not eat a pound of food, so how am I gaining weight when all I'm eating is grass? And then I've done some more research and come to find out that pretty much the Food and Drug Administration, they don't run studies on grass because that's considered barnyard food. All right, it's not considered a viable substance yet. You go to all these different grocery stores and they're selling it. So my theory, all I can do is theorize and tell you that in grass, it's not so much calories that you're getting so much as nature's stem cells. That's what I call it, because something is being left in my body that's causing my body not to burn. You see what I mean? So it's like I'm not losing weight and I'm gaining weight, but it's something else. And what I said is, instead of gaining pounds, you gain cells. All right? It's for example, a guy that's bald-headed has less cells in his body than when he did when he had hair, because those hair follicles amounts to hair cells. All right, and as you get older, more cells are dying. They don't replicate themselves. That's just a natural passage of time. So as you get older, you're constantly walking with less of a cell count in your body, and we're talking billions. Okay, so who's to say that in eating grass, you're either slowing the process of your cell deterioration or you're adding cells to your body to the extent where it's actually causing you not to lose weight. All right. Now, if I'm not eating a pound of grass and yet at the same time I'm retaining weight, then something's going on. Like I said, I can't really explain it. It hasn't been a year yet, but everything has been positive. All right. In eating grass, I'm thinking different. I see different. My body behaves differently. All right. And all that is a positive. So what I'm doing is when I go back to the trail, I'm taking more knowledge. 5 years ago, I went to the trail and my attitude was, I got to eat vitamins. You know, I need a source of protein. I got to take protein drinks. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, this time I don't have to take anything. It's already there. Nature has already provided it for me. And it's so obvious. You know how many grass fields that I walk through when you're going from Georgia to Maine and I'm watching these cows? It's like nature sending you this message and nobody's picking it up, you know? And then I think about all these people, all these places where people are starving and they're sitting there lying, you know, like just got their stomach touching their backbone, and there's grass all around and they didn't connect the dots. All right? I'm not telling you to follow me. I'm not trying to make a cult, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just telling you from me being practicing as what I'm doing through my practice. I found that grass it just works as a staple diet, and it's funny because right now I'm the running joke among people who know me. They're like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't eat meat anymore. He just go out there and give him some grass off the lawn." They can laugh, but at the same time, if I wanted to, I can stand in for a Chippendales model. All right, they can't. All right. So at some point, it's adding to my lifestyle. It's giving me the power that I need to run 2 miles a day, to go to the gym every single day, to just continue with a lifestyle. That kind of food maintains my physique, and it allows me to keep a certain level of my lifestyle, you know. And this is and it helps me because I'm not consuming decay. And when I say decay, I'm talking about meat. All right. I feel like this video is going a little more, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there and continue to add and splice. But that's the gist of it, you know. You take from this video what you will, and I will give you a few more examples. But at the end of the day, that's the big caveat, you know. Eating grass, and how eating grass will probably make you a vegetarian and whatnot. But like I said, I don't use labels, but I haven't eaten meat since April 17th. I don't desire to eat meat, and I got no problem with it. Grass just seems to suit my needs. Is that the only thing I eat? Of course not. But in eating grass, I can appreciate vegetables in their raw form, or I can go down the aisle in any grocery store, and it doesn't matter what greenery they have, from cilantro, basil, to grass, kumquats, I don't know, radishes, whatever it is. I can just literally take it, eat it, and it's like a whole nother different world for me. I'm reprogrammed now, so I can taste the flavor, and it's satisfying. Even in nuts and whole wheat bread, everything that's natural, for some reason, grass amplifies that flavor. So I'm gonna let that go out here. This is grass in the refrigerator in a regular Tupperware, and this right here is actually palm tree. It's notes of palm tree. It's just cut up, just like that. And it's the same grass you'll find in a field. It's that simple. This right here, when you turn to the freezer, this is grass mixed with a little bit of carrot, cilantro, just any other vegetable other than grass, okay? This is grass that has already been emulsified, but it's still mixed with a little bit of something, so I keep it in the freezer because I don't want the mold of any other food to get to it. Here you see grapes, and so that's the same thing. You take a little grape, you take some grass, you emulsify it, which simply means you chew it for a while, and then when you set it aside, you go ahead and put it in the freezer until you've chewed it enough where that the bacteria will no longer grow. Now then, the absolute best thing about eating grass is this. You don't need a refrigerator. Once you've chewed all the bacteria out, this is what you're left with, pellets. It feels like cloth, okay? It can't go bad because there's no bacteria in it. But yet, in here is more vitamins and minerals and nutrients than, you could say, a full multivitamin. You see what I'm saying? So picture this. You're walking down the trail. You're eating grass. You get tired of chewing. You put it away. This is what grass looks like after being chewed on for, let's say, 20 minutes or emulsified for 20 minutes. This is what it looks like after about an hour. When it gets white like this, you're looking at chewing on it for you just chew it like gum. But that's the thing about it. It's so concentrated. It's so powerful that it doesn't go away. You can just chew it. You know, and every time you're chewing it, you're just getting the nutrients from it. So this right here is more than enough to sustain me. Okay, and you can say to yourself, well, there's no calories in it. Are there any calories in a multivitamin? Are there any calories in other supplements like a protein shake? The point I'm trying to make is that what you're doing is for energy. I can fast. You know, a person can go on. For example, the most I ever fast for was 30 days. Jesus fasts for 40 days. Or what do you mean fast? I'm talking about not eating anything except just drinking water. So if you're hiking and putting out energy and you're eating nature's own supplements, I mean, come on. But anyway, this all goes back to the fact that I'm trying to figure out how can I get the most out of my hike? What is the most prevalent food source that I'm just not seeing? You watch the animals do it. You see the cows do it. You watch everything do it. The animals do it, but it doesn't click. Well, now it clicked. So to reiterate, ever since March 1st, I've been training myself to have a grass diet. I don't need a stove. Not to say that I'm not going to cook, but think about this. I mean, this is just another life source on the side that I can just grab on the fly while I'm hiking. and it's pretty much it. It can't go bad. Like I said, you don't need a refrigerator. You don't need to freeze it. The only reason why I have the grass in the refrigerator right now is for taste, because it retains the water. The only reason why it's in the freezer is because if you're going to eat the grass and you're going to eat other things with it, like carrot or any other vegetable prone to bacteria, you have to keep it frozen or have to keep it refrigerated until you've chewed it enough such that this is what you're left with. You chewed out all the active ingredients to where it just sits there, and it's almost like in a stasis. The same way that horses, the same way you can store hay indefinitely and a horse can still come back and eat it. Well, this is the same concept here. You chew the grass, you chew the ingredients until it can sustain itself in the state of suspended animation, totally dry. Okay? And one last thing, this does not attract roaches. This does not attract ants. There's nothing here. There's nothing here for them, but the sustenance is still there. Rats don't eat hay. So you can store barn food or things like that and it'll always be there. Anyway, enough on that.
It's that simple. Do it in the ball and you chew it. I keep scissors with me because it's easier to cut it, because grass is stronger than you think. And you just chew. Palm tree. Adding a little grape. You just hold it together. I'm not eating. I'm chewing the nectar, and I'm leaving the rush right here for later. Think of my mouth as being a blender. I'm emulsifying the ingredients together. Phase 1. Take it over to the refrigerator. And done. So just to be clear, what you saw when you saw me chewing the grass, that was me putting it together, mixing everything. Now, I could do grass by itself, but I did some research, and California is just full of palm trees. Everywhere is full of palm trees, pretty much the West Coast, California, Nevada, Arizona. So what I did was I eat some of the palm leaf itself, and you can also eat the stalk. So the little things that you saw cut at little small angles, those are actually palm. So when I say eating grass, it's kind of a misnomer because you just don't eat it. Okay, what does that mean? I have to break this down in stages, because if I just put grass in my mouth, it'd be 2 hours before that grass disintegrated. That is a long time. And before that,
it would take even longer than that, because like I literally said, it's like bubble gum. You just consistently chew, chew, chew. That's why when you think about most of the grass eaters, cows and stuff, have two stomachs, and the way there's just this constant chewing, because there is an emulsification process. Otherwise, like for example, my roommates would be like, "Oh, he's chewing cud," because you will just sit there like chewing tobacco, chewing forever. So I break it down into to a consistent process. So basically, to like manageable processes is the word I'm looking for. So first, I take the grass, I chew it, I chop it down into a manageable section where it can form a ball and then hold. Now, and then what I do at that point is I just throw it in the freezer or the refrigerator. All right. Now, I'm not doing this when I'm hungry. This is just something that I'm doing for prep. But in chewing it and in taking in the nectar, what nectar? The chlorophyll. What's chlorophyll? If you ask me, that's the juice of the sun. It's the nectar of the sun. Anything that's green, when you're chewing it, you're eating the sunlight manifested in the physical flesh of the vegetation and whatnot. And with grass, actually, there's only one thing stronger than grass, and that's weeds. It's even more potent. When you think dandelions and things of that nature, ragweed, some of that, stuff like that, where it's just growing wild. That's even more potent. Potent with what? Potent with protein. Potent with nitrogen, which is a very, very, very strong mineral and element. And basically, what does nitrogen do? Nitrogen, it opens up your capillaries. It opens up the veins. So basically, what does aspirin do? Aspirin is a blood thinner. It thins out your blood, therefore the blood runs faster, right? But nitrogen does the same thing, except it doesn't thin the blood. It opens up your capillaries. It opens up the veins. So basically, you're at a diameter greater than what it was. And think of the difference between a garden hose and a fire hose. Okay, so you have a garden hose type before you eat nitrogen or anything rich in nitrogen. After you do that, you get a fire hose. And what does that mean? It means if you have a greater vascular volume, then you get more pressure, so it pushes the blood through. So it's the same thing, and that's where it gives you a kind of boost of energy. You can feel the difference. Point I'm trying to make is grass and weeds, they are rich in nitrogen, rich in phosphate, and a lot of other things that come from the earth itself. And as I said before, the Food and Drug Administration does not necessarily give you the nutritional content on grass because it's not considered human food. But back to what I was saying, going to the freezer, that's the first. If I didn't, like, for example, do I need to put it in the freezer? No, because it's just palm trees and grass, I can leave it out. But I got cats and whatnot, and I don't want them sniffing all over it. But you don't have to worry about bacteria. It can't go bad. It can't rot. It can literally stay out there and dry, like beef jerky. You can go right back to it, put it in your mouth, and chew it again. So when I get hungry or something like that, or if I want a snack, I'm going to go to the freezer. I'm going to grab the grass that I already had. I'll chew on that for 2 more hours, and then I'll discard the other part, and then I'll put it away where it can dry. Okay? And then when it dries, you saw the after effect. It's kind of like paper. It's kind of like, it's almost like, it feels like something that's inorganic. Like, for example, flour is inorganic, or like wheat or something like that, where it's just dry and it's stale and it's there. Okay, that's my version of hay. Okay, so when you take like when you see the farmers plow the grass fields and it sit out there and then it go from green to white, it becomes hay, and that's how they store it for the winter. The nutritional value is still there. It's just turning white, and then you can actually feed all the barnyard animals you need on hay. So when you see the little dried out substances, that's kind of like hay, except it's still full of nutrients. So like I said, I can eat on that 3 more times. And so basically how this will translate on the trail is, if I'm hungry, if I'm on the trail and I see some grass, I'll grab it, I'll chew on it, and when I get tired of chewing on it, I'll put it in a little pouch. Right? I don't have to worry about it going bad. There's no bacteria there, so to speak. It'll dry up. If I get hungry again, I'll go back to the pouch, and you go, but it's the drinking, it's the constant taking in of the juices that's giving you the nutrients and everything that you need to facilitate. And me being a high energy person and me always going to the gym and all that stuff, I can see it. So I know it's there because I know what to feel for. And 9 times out of 10, I'm generally fasting and whatnot. I'm not one to just sit there and graze constantly. I eat at a certain point of the day. But the biggest factor at all is just the fact that I don't miss eating meat. I'm getting all the nutrients, all the substance, everything that I need from what I'm doing. And so basically this experiment turned into a whole nother way of life. And so I'm kind of excited because the grass that I'm chewing now is found in the inner city. Okay, grass is grass, true enough, but it's still a product of its environment. Cars are driving by there. There's a lot more carbon monoxide in the air. There's carbon dioxide. There's a lot of things in there. So even the soil itself, it's not as rich as it could be, let's say, on the trails of Appalachia, up in the mountains where everything is unpolluted. So I can imagine what that grass and vegetation would taste like, and I'm kind of excited. And you'll be right there along with me, and I'll be showing you everything. But I think this pretty much concludes the grass deal. So I just wanted to bring that in there as well. So, out here. All right. What up, YouTube? This is more trail related information. I'm coming forward to bring together, to actually talk about 3 points. And I'm going to go pretty much from trivial to the main. All right. So when I say trivial, I'm talking about keeping it light, no big deal. And then main is the main point, main idea, the main reason why I'm doing this post. This post generally is about logistics. Okay. When I say logistics, I'm thinking in terms of 2020 as I'm moving forward to my through hike. Okay, some logistical things that I'm working through now that I would like to bring to the forefront, something that you can think about. First, we're going to talk about something as simple as dryer lint. Dryer lint. When you dry your clothes, this is the best fire starter any hiker could ever hope for. And around 2 months ago, I just started to make a mental note to collect dryer lint. And that's how far, when you think about preparation, that's how far ahead you have to think. You know, I'm not going anywhere until March, but that's beside the point. You know, you gotta keep it in your head, going around and around as far as the preparation, because everything you need, all the answers to any questions that you need are here in the present. And as long as you keep a little bit of your mind going forward, you know, and a little bit of your mind here, you'll figure out what's going on. I feel like I'm starting to babble. So first point was the dryer lint. And one more thing about the dryer lint. When you go into towns or the hotels or whatever you do and you're drying your clothes, let's say you want to wash your clothes, I recommend you go into those, you go to the back of the dryer. All right, and if you can change out the lint, like let's say a Holiday Inn Express, where they buy the dryers where you have to wash and dry your own clothes. If you got that presence of mind, get the lint, okay? Because at any point you're going to guarantee the fact that you're going to have a nice fire moving forward. And the good thing about that is you have like 10, 12 hikers and even hotel people using those dryers. Dude, you can get like 2 months worth of lint just from doing what you would normally do anyway. Check the lint. So that's the point on the lint. Second point, when I did my through hike in 2015, I don't think I was on the trail 2 weeks before I got sick. All right. And that particular, I would call it respiratory, not necessarily the flu. But at the end of the day, I just pretty much caught something that was going around and it stuck with me for at least 2-3 weeks before I could breathe better. So this happened in 2015. So learning from the past. All right. Now, part of my regimen, when I think about catching a flu or something like that early on, that has to do with my preparation beforehand. You know what I'm saying? As far as did I get enough? Did I have enough vitamins? Did I have enough vitamin C? Did I have enough of this in my diet to actually build up my immune system? As you know, in 2015, I pretty much stood by Ensure. And what I would do is I wouldn't pack Ensure, but every time when I get to towns, I would buy a 6-pack of Ensure and I would down it. Why Ensure? Because it's packed with proteins and vitamins and minerals. Okay, so what can I do in 2015 that'll give me a little bit more advantage when it comes to my immune system? What I'm gonna do now is in 2020, I'm gonna keep the Ensure. Which means that when I go to towns, I'm going to continue to drink the Ensure to like fortify my immune system and my body and muscles. But I'm also going to take vitamin C. Okay, this is pretty much vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams. All right, I'm actually gonna pack this. All right, and what I'm gonna do is I'm pretty much gonna take one a day. All right. Good thing about vitamins is you really can't OD on vitamins, okay? Especially water soluble vitamins. You have two types of vitamins: water soluble and fat soluble. So I want to give you a little bit of advice as well as a little bit of education. But vitamin C is water soluble. You eat it, you go down. But this is what I want you to know. About a month before you go to the trail, you want to start fortifying your immune system. And what does that mean? By taking vitamins. You can take it something as simple as a multivitamin, because when you think about fat soluble vitamins, what those vitamins do is they will attach to your fat tissue, okay? And since the fat tissue stays with you and it's harder to burn that off, what you have is a good source of nutrients, minerals, and vitamins that your body can pull from if it needs to boost the immune system. Because let's face it, when you go to the trail initially, you're going with all the basically your weight index is going to be high going into the trail. And if you're a through hiker, as you hike, you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose body mass and you're going to lose fat mass. So your fat mass content is not going to be at the highest ratio as it is when you first start. By taking vitamins and so forth, minerals, by eating a good diet a month before, then the fat stores that you're going onto the trail with will be there as a fortification. Okay? So what I recommend you do is don't wait till you get to the trail and start taking vitamins. You want to make sure you're fortified. I got sick 2 weeks in. So about a month out, and well, this is what I do normally, but I've made a point in moving closer to the trail to take more vitamin C. And I continue with this on a regular basis. So it would behoove you, all right, to start eating right and start taking vitamins before you go on the trail. And as you lose weight, as you burn that fat, your body's going to be burning through your vitamin and mineral and immune system supports, okay? And so that's why I'm going to continue to take vitamin C. So is this weight? Yeah, but it's weight worth carrying. And in that case, basically, I'm trying to insulate myself against getting sick the first month in, as I did in 2015. So that's just a lesson learned. What I'm bringing extra is a vitamin C, and that's 1,000 milligrams. Okay, third point, probably you could say one of the most important points is this right here. Anyway, okay, so in January of 2019, I started making phone calls. I called the hostel at Dahlonega, all right? Because that's the hostel. Let me give you a brief synopsis on the hostel. Okay, the reason why the hostel in Dahlonega, Georgia was very paramount to my hike in 2015 was because of the services that they rendered. What's a hostel? A hostel is like a hotel. And what I did was, in 2019, I booked a room at the hostel. And in booking that room, what I got was the following amenities. Number one, they picked me up at the train station. They took me back to their facility, and I got to sleep there. Okay, so you got a bunk and a bed. The next morning, they fed me breakfast, and this is just hikers in general. They fed hikers breakfast, and the fourth point, they took us to Springer Mountain, to Trailhead, and they did all this under $100, and that right there is priceless, okay? And so what I did was January 1st, 2019, I called the hostel at Dahlonega so I can prepare, because that's just all part of preparation. Come to find out, the hostel at Dahlonega is under new ownership, okay? And the things that they offered no longer apply. Or I'll put it to you like this, it's different now. So basically, I explained the situation. I told them I was a through hiker and that I was calling to make a reservation for March, okay? And basically, they just started telling me, whoa, check this out. Number one, it's too early. Number two, we're under new ownership. Number three, we're going about hikers in a whole nother different fashion. It's not going to be in the way that you experienced it. And I'm like, well, do you still pick hikers up? And then basically what they did was to tell me everything is a la carte, okay? What do you mean? Okay, instead of being one inclusive package, that's off the table. Okay, what they do now is what they told me was we offer a pickup fee to pick you up at the train station. Okay, number two, they said we offer a bunkhouse fee where you can sleep. And keep in mind when I say bunkhouse, because they actually went as far as, in their words, they built a separate property where they keep hikers. Okay, so basically on their property where everybody stayed at the main cabin, which was, I mean, dude, I'm talking about opulent resources. Okay, the beds were nice, everything was cool. Now they want to put you in a bunkhouse away. Who knows what the situation is, but that's a fee. The breakfast is a fee. The shuttle is a fee. So basically, long story short, with my military discount, they quoted me rates north of $200. So at that point, I was like, yeah, all right, I appreciate you. I'm going to keep that in mind. Have a nice day. Okay, so what I'm telling you is, if you're following me in 2015 and you want to do the hike, Hostel at Dahlonega probably will not be as accommodating as it once said. And so I have to let you know, hey, even though it was five years ago, I'm just giving you new intel. If you were thinking about going the way of Hostel at Dahlonega, you might want to rethink that because it's no longer the bargain that it once was. Okay, so in my plan B, what I did was I actually ordered the AT guide northbound. Pretty much I ordered the Thru Hiker's Handbook for 2019, even though I'm going in 2020, because I have to have a way in. Okay, I have to have a means of getting from the train station to the trail, and that's no small matter. Now, this is what I mean. That book cost $17, okay? But in that book, on the first page, it gives you all the shuttle options of who you can call to get you from the train station to Springer Mountain, all right? And so basically, I looked in there and I saw several. So what my experience is going to look like now is I'm going to take Greyhound into Atlanta. And then I'm going to walk next door to the MARTA station, and I'm going to get on that railway tram, and I'm going to take it all the way to North Point. It's either North Point or South Point. It's one of those points to the terminus, okay? Once I get to the terminus, I'm going to open up my book and start calling people and say, okay, who can come and pick me up to take me to the trail, all right? And I'll be doing this in the morning, okay? So basically, that gives me anywhere from 4 to 5 hour window. And in some cases, since most of these trail people, most of the trail services, they actually use the North Point terminus as a pretty much a main hub. It's not uncommon to just pull up at North Point, get off the train with your pack, and see other hikers standing with their packs waiting for their ride. In that case, if space is available, you can just hitch with them, split that ride cost, and there you have it. So it's imperative. So even though I bought a book for the previous year, if I didn't have this information, then it will pretty much cost me anywhere from $150 to $175 to get a ride now from the airport, from the Atlanta bus station, or from any point in MARTA to Springer Mountain, okay, via taxi cab or Uber or something like that. So I'm letting you know well in advance. It would behoove you to go ahead and get this book, because you need to know, how can I get to the start point? How do I get to Springer Mountain? All right, and so that's definitely something worth mentioning, and it's also that's something that you need to plan for. Now, what I'm gonna let you know is this: most people quote it for example, if you're going to just catch a cab, most of them won't go to Springer Mountain, because Springer Mountain is just pretty much it's just a mountain peak. Okay, there's no resources there. There's no bathroom. They do have cellular service, but that's only because you're on a mountain. The best quote you're gonna get is Springer Mountain. Okay, that's a destination resort, because it has Amicalola Falls. And when I said Springer Mountain, I meant to say your best destination is gonna be Amicalola State Park. That's 8.5 miles hiking distance to Springer Mountain. Springer Mountain is the beginning if you're going northbound when you're through hiking the trail. So, to reiterate, if you're trying to get to Springer Mountain and you're trying to go through otherwise means of trying to get the transportation to go from the airport or the bus station or the train station, and you're trying to get the trailhead, go to Amicalola State Falls Park. Now, the good thing about the park is they 24/7, especially during hiking season around March and in the spring, they're going to offer hiker workshops, every morning. It's a place where you can register. It's a place where you can weigh your pack. It's a place where you have full services. You can do food, you can do water. So basically, restrooms is like the last stop that you can make to check your gear, make sure everything's good to go, check your pack, register in, and from that point, from Springer Mountain, you could probably maybe hitchhike with somebody else if you didn't want to do the approach trail and go straight to Springer Mountain. So my advice to you would be this. If somebody is telling you, hey, I can pick you up and I'll take you to Springer Mountain, I would tell them to drop you off at Amicalola State Park first. Because there, you're going to have the resources of other hikers, questions. That's your last stop, okay? Because Springer Mountain is the last place you're going to have cell phone service. What I do is I always go to Amicalola Falls, okay? I give myself a once over, I sign in, and then I hike that 8.5 miles to the top of Springer Mountain. Why? Because that gives me 8 miles of rigorous terrain. It's not easy, but it gives me 8 miles of rigorous terrain to check my gear. Okay, that's important, because if I got an issue with my gear from Amicalola Falls to Springer Mountain, when I get to Springer Mountain, there's two things there. Number one, there's cell phone service, and number two, there's a parking lot where everybody's dropping off their kids, they're coming and going, and it's nothing, because you're going to obviously be in uniform, you're going to be a hiker. If you got an issue, then you can get in anybody's car free, and they will drop you off at the bottom of the hill right there at the ranger station where you can address any problems, as opposed to going straight to Springer Mountain, hiking with all your new gear, and going north up into the woods, where if you have a problem 20 miles out, you're stuck. You got no cell phone service. You know what I'm saying? Anything can happen, and now you got to figure out, well, how can I get back? Because wherever you stop at, you're going to have to walk 20 miles back. And you're not going to be around anybody that has car keys and say, yeah, well, come on back to my car and I'll give you a ride. So that's important. All right. So that's another thing I want to put out there. And, besides that, they actually have a lodge. They have a lodge at the top of Amicalola Falls. So worst case scenario, let's say you get in at night. Okay. What I would tell you to do is get a cab, get to Amicalola Falls and just check into the lodge. All right. You can sleep there. All right. In the morning, you can go down a little mountain. You can tour the park, go to the ranger station, check everything out, get your pack checked out, and then head out. Okay. So, well, the major point of this post was I just wanted you to understand that the Amicalola State Falls, not Amicalola, but the hostel at Dahlonega, unfortunately, that's off the table. All right. And you want to go to the trail with a means of shuttling. All right. You got to have that worked out. So, basically what happened was when I got off the phone with the hostel at Dahlonega, deciding in my mind, okay, that pretty much is, that intel is burned. I can't use that anymore. What I did was I waited until about February or March. I got on Amazon and I ordered the AT Guide North 2019. When I got that guide, when I got that book in April, I started checking off, okay, this, and I came up with at least 10 different shuttles, 10 different resources that can get me from A to B. And because I got so many, I could book, but I'm not. Okay, everything that I got on there, I was looking for a hostel. All I saw were shuttles, so I'm just gonna go with the shuttle. And because there's so many, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a bus to Atlanta. I'm gonna go to the train station, and when I go to the terminus, open up the book and start making phone calls. That's just the simplest way to do it. And worst case scenario, if I can't get a shuttle, which I doubt, it'll be cheaper for me to get a cab from that north terminus to Amicalola Falls than it would be if I was sitting at an airport or at a bus station in Atlanta. All right. So one other thing you need to know is the ranger station, they sell books. Okay. The ranger station will sell you an AT guide. So even though I'm going to the trail with 19 just to get to Trailhead, it's worth it. When I get to Amicalola State Falls, I'm going to go into the ranger station and be like, hey, let me buy a 2020 version of this book and just grab it right there. Another $17. It's still well spent because you're going to save yourself a lot of stress and a lot of money by getting whatever book you have at hand just so you can get the Trailhead. It makes all the difference in the world. So I wanted to bring that point to you. So to reiterate, dryer lint, and that just means, stay attention to the details. Pay attention because you're going to be touching things that will make a whole lot of sense for you on the trail. Point 2, start building your immune system beforehand, at least when you're a month out. Understand that fat-soluble vitamins will stay in your fat, that fat that you will eventually burn. But the good thing is, if you go to the trail a little bit heavy, make sure you're carrying vitamins and good things that's going to boost your immune system. When you talk about vitamins and minerals and such. And one more point, even though I was taking Ensure, I'm actually going to pack vitamin C because that wasn't enough for me in 2015. And finally, have a strategy, okay? Order a book before you get there. Start making phone calls. Have a way to get from the train station, the bus station, or the airport to Amicalola Falls. I recommend you go to Amicalola Falls because I would prefer that you take that. Well, go to Amicalola Falls for the support, and also go so you can test your gears as you hike up to Springer Mountain. And if there's an issue, easy hitch down, easy cell phone call, all that. All right. That being said, out here. By the way, today's date is let me back up. I saw the video that I put out, and I try to keep a moniker, keep a timestamp, so I know what space and time I'm dealing with, what place and time. So what I failed to mention was today's date is November 7th, 2019, and I will come forward with a gear video, but I didn't want to even talk about gear until like January. What I was gonna do is just hold all these videos, and I'm speaking in plural sense. You'll figure that out here in a second. But I was gonna hold all these videos and start posting January 1st. But after giving it some thought, I realized, the sooner you can prepare, the better. So, like I said, today's November. I'll just drop this video, this series, and so you're gonna get it from then up until now. And in January, when I talk about gear, basically I'm just gonna lay out my pack. I'm gonna show you my pack, I'm gonna lay it out, and I'm gonna tell you what's in it, and pretty much talk about things concerning gear. And then after that, I'll probably be pretty much in transit. You know what I'm saying? And I will bring the relevant stuff to you as it moves, so to speak, to keep it in real time. But truth be told, when you talk about information such as trivial as dryer lint and as major as go ahead and ordering a book, even if the book has nothing to do with even if the book is a previous year, you need that information in that book. So things like that, I guess the sooner the better. So, and FYI, let's say you're hiking a trail in 2020. Well, they're not even going to print the book until January 15th. It's not going to hit the shelves and markets until like February. And even then, they won't be able to keep it in stock until like maybe April. And then it's going to boost, the demand is going to boost again in May because you got people that are southbounders, or they'll start in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, which is the halfway point, go to Maine, and then flip-flop and come back. The point I'm trying to say is that the demand for the present year, the demand for that book, it ebbs and flows depending on the major groups that are actually going. So I said that to say this.
once you get around the trail, all right, you can pretty much buy the book. And it's like I said before, when you get to the ranger station in Amicalola Falls, when I get there, I can just literally take a book off the shelf before I go. 2020 is what I'm trying to say. And I can get that book in March. All right. So, but as far as you go, if you're trying to plan something, if you need to do mail drops, things of that nature, it's a gamble, but it's a slight gamble. What do you mean? I would not recommend getting a 2019 book, looking at all the places where you can send your mail, unless you're thinking about dropping boxes at U.S. Postal Service, federal buildings. If you just want to start looking at that and dropping places off at shelters, problem is not a shelter, but pretty much a hostel, a hotel, a drop box destination may be open in 2019, right? As you look in the book. But if that book's a year old, who's to say if it's going to be open in 2020? All right. And so, that's something that you might want to think about. I'm thinking in terms of like names and numbers. Okay. Like, for example, a hostel in 2019 in that book, you can call them and say, hey, today's date is, February 20th. Are you guys still open? Can I send a Dropbox? That kind of thing. So if you can hold on to them old books, that kind of information is priceless when you can call, when you can call someone and get current intel. All right. So that being said, there you have it. Today's November 7th, 2019. I'm going to go ahead and post these videos. Next time in January, I'm going to start dropping gear video, and then after that we'll just pretty much start the episodes of 2020, but I will keep you posted out here.